Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Pet Pro Power Hour. I am your host, Wayne. Today we have Eddie, who is the owner and founder of Paws at Maine in California. And we'll just really just jump right into it. I wanted to thank y'all for just spending the next hour with us and listening to what we do. As always, we're just pet professionals, just having a candid conversation about the journey of entrepreneurship. And hopefully anything and everything that we talk about kind of just inspires you in your journey through entrepreneurship so that you can get some of your questions answered and build up your network and your resources as you grow. So, Eddie, without further ado, do you mind introducing yourself to our listeners and watchers?
Cool. Well, thank you, Wayne. My name's Eddie Quinones. I think a lot of people know me through social media as the CEO of Grooms. We have built, I would say a great business with my wife, Priscilla, Paws and Maine. At the moment, we have three locations. We have three mobile units. We have a great team, and I think it's been a good journey from when we started and learning, and even now social media. I would like to tell everybody that we were already on social media, but as a brand, never myself. And then one day I kind of decided to make that switch of, hey, let me share some things that I've learned along the way that has helped me. Because sometimes, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And I just feel like I saw things like, all right, maybe that doesn't work from my experience. Let me show the other side. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's always been my goal. Just share what works for us. Whether people like it, don't like it, take it or leave it. Like, I mean, it's given us some results. And that's kind of what I go off by.
So figuring out what works, what doesn't work, who likes it,
Yeah.
who doesn't like it, and really just keep what's working going, right?
Exactly.
What got you into the pet industry? What started? So I know you started the business what back in 2018
Yeah, in 2018, I think,
led you to it.
Me and Priscilla say started young. We had our kids early, so I think after a while, she was ready to venture off and do something else. It's like, all right, I want to get out of the house for a little bit. I want to do a little bit more, and she ended up finding pet grooming, and she just did. She was really good at it. She'll always say that. At first, I really didn't pay attention because I don't think anybody really knows, about the business pet grooming or what's involved in it. That as I started noticing her coming home with bigger checks, being better at what she does, I was like, all right, there's something here. And I think everything really switched
Mhm.
when I went to my first expo. And then
Okay.
after going to my first expo, I really saw what there was, or like this whole little niche of pet grooming. Then I was like, all right, let me go in full force in this.
Gotcha. What were you doing before?
I was mainly doing construction, as like a handyman, doing remodeling work. I've done a lot of, things I say throughout, my life. I started as an electrician, then I was working with my mom, doing a lot of like home services. I owned a franchise at one point, I was working in the fitness space at one point. So anything that I could do, I would do.
No, it made sense. I gotcha. And then did y'all start off with mobile? Did you start off with like just running your business 100%, or did you go straight into brick and mortar?
We went straight into brick and mortar. Mobile wasn't necessarily an idea at first. I feel like that happened afterwards. But
Mhm.
at first it was just brick and mortar. I saw they were building a new place near our house. I was like, all right, this looks like a nice place that we could go into, So I went in, applied, and we started with that brick and mortar. Like a store was
Okay.
always the goal. Mobile
Mhm.
didn't come until after we saw the need.
I feel that. I feel that. Now, I guess from then to now, like what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way, just when it comes down to because you have the best of both worlds now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can really see what works on mobile side and what works in the brick and mortar side. What are some of the lessons that those who may be trying to figure out which route to go, that can help them.
Well, now anytime anybody does ask me which route to go, I kind of always ask them, what are their goals? I believe that having a brick and mortar or a storefront location is for someone who wants to grow, someone who wants to have a team. wants to be a little bit more than themselves because I think that's what's going to be required of a location. Versus if you're the person who you want to feel like you want to kind of take this journey alone and do your own thing when you want, how you want, then I'm like, okay, well then you need to start in mobile.
Makes sense. No, that absolutely makes sense. Because let me see, at the time when I first started, I had one van, and of course, the goal was eventually to have like a fleet of vans. The goal at the time was having a fleet of vans, and I was going to say, I have clientele everywhere, so I was driving around doing everything that I can in the beginning. And then it clicked, and it was just like, well, it's hard to employ people that actually want to work. You
Yes.
know, it's hard because people want to make money, but they don't necessarily want to do the work all the time. And being on the road, as you know, like it's a lot of work, and then you're relying on yourself for a lot, right? So we do tend to get questions on how do we build up, the team with the right people, so then that way they continue to keep our vision alive and keep our mission going and things like that. So, what are your takes on that? Because you have three successful locations with your mobile. So now it's like, how do we manage those teams and get everybody on board with what we're building?
I think even that in itself, ends up being a learning process. I feel like now that we have groomers who have been here with us for a while, and then we have groomers who come and go. I would say that we don't have like the biggest revolving door, but we did learn to really weed out the people that just don't fit your business. I might do business a certain way that, might not necessarily be the best for someone. Someone might not be the best fit. So that phrase of, hire and fire fast, is definitely true. I think over time we started to learn like, okay, if this person doesn't fit here, if these mistakes keep happening, that's it, fire them. I think that a lot of business owners are feeling trapped to their groomers because they feel like they can't find more. One thing for that, I think we've gone through that where we had those stages of like, all right, maybe we don't have enough help, so it's time for me and Priscilla to just, bootstrap and get to work. And there's
Mhm.
nothing that you can do other than just kind of put in that effort during those periods of time while you find the right people. I was also listening to a podcast that, someone was saying, "Whoa, I can't find people." And the other person said, "Well, that's business. That's not an excuse because we all go through it." And I realized,
Right.
I'm like, because I've been going through a period like, man, I haven't really found any groomers that really fit. But I mean, that's his business. It's finding the right people and just kind of being patient until they come along.
No, so when somebody wants to apply, are you more so looking for the experienced groomers or somebody that is new that you can
It
mold into?
it's a mix of both. It also kind of depends where we're at. Let's say with our work, let's say if it's really busy, then I might want to hire someone who is ready to go.
Right.
Versus, let's say maybe it's the beginning of the year, it's a little bit slower. I might take the opportunity on someone that I like, someone that has, a good personality, someone that looks like they'll fit with the team. Because in the beginning of the year, it might be a little bit slower. I might have more time to train them, kind of get them on track.
Well, makes cool. Gotcha, gotcha. And when you did start out and the dynamic of working with your wife, like how do you love that?
It's good. I think we even for ourselves, I feel like we really went through our stages of at first it was just us. It was a little bit easier because there was no one else. Now we start bringing in different people. Now
Yeah.
that's where me and her sometimes would butt heads. We're like, okay, well, I think we should do these things this way. And
Mhm.
then I would think to do things other ways. So, I feel like the bigger the team grows, I feel like the more challenges that even it is working together that it's still a learning process. But at the end of the day, I tell everybody if you have the same mission, have the same goal, it makes everything a lot easier. Those
No,
like late
100%.
nights, those sacrifices, we are on the same boat. So it makes it easier to go through that versus if it was just her or just me doing those sacrifices or doing those things.
So no, I got you 100%. And the only reason why I asked is like a lot of people you start to see now these days, of course, you start to see that dynamic where it's husband and wife or mother and son or daughter and father, they're starting to work together, and build up these businesses and build, generational wealth
Yeah.
and get out of that just trying to be rich, but more so build wealth, mindset. So would you have thought like what 7 years ago, at this point, 8 years ago, it was something that was really going to build into this? Like, how to talk me through, like, just the beginning of it. Like, how did we start off with one location and then wanting to grow and get more, and like just the dynamic of that?
I feel like I've always been like kind of like that entrepreneur who always does, things. And I just feel like let's say sometimes with the construction business, there's a lot more, rules to follow. There's a lot more things that you have to go through to scale that business. So when I saw that pet grooming was kind of landed in a gray area when no one was really asking questions, I feel like that kind of like opened my mind also like, okay, I can scale this without, any pushback.
Gotcha.
So I think once I always thought of it as like or I would say that when we first opened Paws at Main One, I was like, all right, hopefully we could just make 10 grand and just pay the bills and have a little extra money. So I didn't think of it big. I was still thinking small, where like I just want to make some money, make sure my rent is covered, and we're making some money off it as well. But when I started, seeing that, get surpassed pretty quick, and I saw that the volume was coming in, and then I just saw how we were growing with clients and the team. I was like, okay, this can keep going.
Mhm.
Even now, I feel like I barely scratched the surface of what we can do.
No, for sure. And look, man, I'm like, as an entrepreneur, our minds are always what's next, or uh okay, that was great, but let me see, can I do this or can I do that? And how do I, navigate or compartmentalize like all of these great things that I want to accomplish, and it's like, well, how do we do that? How do we
Yeah.
maintain this level of like we try not to overwhelm ourselves, but in the sense like business ownership can be overwhelming too. Like
Yeah.
how do you manage that?
I think for that, because I feel like it happens to me a lot where, like you said, like what's next? What's next? So we're constantly chasing like what's next,
Mhm.
and I'm working on trying to learn of not necessarily what's next, but how do I take what I already have and make it better? Because
Yeah.
I feel like that's where we kind of go wrong. We might want to jump into something else. All right, this one's doing good. What else do I do? But it's not like necessarily what else, but how do I keep this growing? How do I stay in
Mhm.
the same lane versus trying to go into something different?
Mhm.
So I think for being like even this year, a lot of the focus was like, all right, how can I grow? Are my shops optimized the best way that we can? Do I have to, maybe switch how our shops work? How are we dealing with our customers? How can we optimize what we have and just keep growing what we have and just kind of have that focus of again staying in that same lane? Because trust me, my ideas bounce all over the place. I want to do tons of things, tons of different things,
Uh-huh.
you know. But sometimes the best, I feel like, course of action is just like stay consistent with what you have and figure out what's missing there.
No, I got you. Because we we'll focus on like the future and then don't really see like what's going on today
Yeah,
and things like that, right? With building up the business, do you find it hard to create that balance or like manage things, the way that you would want to, just because we're trying to, not trying, excuse me, we're building up, basically an empire. Like we're
yeah.
building up, this great business, this household brand, we're trying to stay on top of marketing and branding and, all of the intricate details of making it work. How do you create that balance to stay sane?
I
Essentially.
mean, I think at some point it's being okay with letting some of the responsibilities go.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely at a point where I can't do everything, even if I would have wanted to, or if I feel like I'm the best person for this job, I have to figure out who else can be that best person for that job. And if something goes wrong, that I can't be upset with them.
Hmm.
So it's really learning how to delegate certain responsibilities to free up yourself for more important things. Like there is a thing that I do like to work. I do like to groom dogs, but I don't get the time to.
Yeah.
And then there's times where like right now, like I've been working all week, all last week at work, but my phone is always ringing, my phone's always doing things. So I realized that if I really want to grow the business, I can't be grooming. As much as I want to, I just can't. My
Mhm.
focus can't be doing the actual physical work. Like I have to continue to, because I was at the point I was like, I don't really want to hire nobody right now. It's not doing myself, you
Yeah.
know, and you could do it for so long, but there becomes a point where it's like, all right, is grooming taken away from my other responsibilities? Am I missing something or the shop's falling apart, you know, or could I be doing something else versus than just grooming? So like
Hmm.
you have to really make that choice, like what things can you do to keep you growing, and what things are holding you back that you might not feel are holding you back. And I think as a business owner, doing a lot of the actual work or really, you know, being not say too hands-on, but again, taking on too many responsibilities is what holds you back. You have no free time to think. You have no free time to put things into action. Um, when I'm not grooming, when I have nothing, then I'm like, all right, what do I do? I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should start come up with ideas for better marketing ads. Make sure that all the leads are being answered. If I see a DM come in, like let me answer before someone else does. So it's really giving me that time and space to think about what else needs to be done.
I feel that. And so with and no, that's great, because you have to make sure that your time management is used efficiently, to getting things done, and being able to delegate properly is key when it comes down to it. Now, growing your business and being part of, this movement that really empowers pet professionals, and gets them to understand a different point of view, but also being able to say like what they want to say, because a
Yeah.
lot of they're afraid to really speak their mind, and like, afraid of being canceled, or being blackballed or listed or whatever, right? The brand that you've built, like how do you keep what helps you like want to build this brand in particular, right? Um, Being able to speak out and say, those risky topics, and being able to talk about, certain things that a lot of pet professionals aren't really wanting to talk, or they want to talk about, but they need some help getting that
Yeah.
conversation going.
I mean, I think a lot of it comes from like where, let's say it didn't happen overnight. So now that we've been, you know, this started after maybe being, you know, 5 years in business. So I would say that anything that I say, you know, I have the proof to, let's say, back it up.
Mhm.
And it's not as scary versus where you might be, let's say someone's a little bit newer, they're just starting out. Let's say if they want to go hard or do something similar to what I'm doing, it might be definitely be a little bit scary because, you know, even for myself, I feel like there's always, you know, I might second guess myself. I'm like, am I really saying the correct thing? But then I'm like, well, these are the facts. This is what I've done. These are the results I've got.
Mhm.
So then I'm able to kind of tell myself like, all right, no, like, you know, whatever I'm talking about, like at least I have some proof to back it up. Like I'm
Yeah.
not just, you know, just talking out of thin air or just, you know, making things up. I'm just literally sharing the experience that I have. And even being able to speak freely also has to do with I already built something for myself, so I can shut the CEO grooms down, and it doesn't matter because I already have a business. I'm not relying on this. It's definitely brought me some great opportunities. But I will say, I mean, realistically, there's not a whole lot of opportunities in the grooming world from companies. As like I feel like maybe sounds hypocritical, but there's still not a lot here for us influencers, even though I've chosen to do it because I feel like I can share and help people. So that's why I do it,
Mhm.
without necessarily needing anything back. But when groomers want to jump into this, you know, space and say, hey, I'm going to be the next influencer and get all these contract deals and do all these with all these brands, there's no money in these deals. You know, a lot of people are just ambassadors. We got either affiliate code. There's not a lot of people getting checks cut out to them. So I always tell people focus on your business brand first, and once you have something solid and going for you, then that kind of gives you the ability to speak and do whatever you want. If someone wants to cancel me and say, hey, well, you can't work for our company anymore, okay, big deal. It's like the check that you were giving me is not gonna take anything off my table.
No,
That's
for
just
sure.
the truth. That's just the truth.
Yeah. And I look, and you have to be able to understand like the value that you bring so that you don't feel like these are the only opportunities that I
Yeah,
have, right? You got to make sure that you are well versed and you're educated and you're a student and you're humble and everything that comes with it because you're going to learn a lot during entrepreneurship.
yeah. And even then, it really comes down to what you want to do and why
Mhm.
you want to do it. So I always like to say that one of the people that I would consider a mentor, who I don't know, but is someone that I've always looked up to. I mean, his name is Andy Frisella. I listened to him, his podcast in the beginning when he first started it. Again, big entrepreneur, has all these companies. I would hear him all the time say, like, look, guys, like I'm giving you all the information for free in my podcast. I don't want you to pay me to mentor me. I don't want nothing from you. I'm gonna just tell you what I did, how I did it, and listen to it. Like it was like that simple. So same
Mhm.
thing for me at some point. I was like, all right, look, I have the time, I have the resources. Let me do something a little bit different. Let me share what I have with nothing really, without asking anything for in return. Now, if you want to create something that is gonna, return something, it might just be, a little bit of a longer journey and just really understanding why you want to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't have like that why, then you're gonna get burnt out on trying to do this, on trying to please people, on trying to create videos, trying to create content. It will burn you out if you don't have a specific, goal for it.
No, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's truly a full-time job. Like when you go into the editing and then trying to stay, in front of trends and in front
Yeah.
of the right people, you got to have intentionality on what you post too,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't. They just post and just to post, but you have to get into, if you want people to book, then you have to cater posting towards getting people to book. You want, more attention in a particular field, then you have to create content that's around that. So it does go into, who you are, as well as what you do, because this is the work that we're putting out and everything like that. So do you tend to feel like, well, I guess you saw the need, in being able to do that, in the sense of like the people's champion, essentially. It's like somebody who's going to, go against the status quo and say, what needs to be said and stand up for them and everything like that. Like, how does that make you feel when people, would say that? Because you go down your page on
Yeah.
CEO Rooms and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I've been wanting to say that and I can repost it, like silently repost it without
Yeah.
feeling, people make it feel a type of way or anything like that. But like, that's the brand that was built, was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can have these uncomfortable conversations and I can say this for you because I see like this is the information that you need to know.
Yeah. And yeah, and I think it was for me, it was again sharing. I just feel like I saw so many people struggling when I was like, there's something that you could change so quickly and it can make a big difference, in how you're running your business. And a lot of that was that for me, I was like, why are groomers struggling? Why am I not struggling? And all these other groomers are struggling. What are they doing wrong? Or what information do they have? And then I see some of the information being put out, and I'm not saying that the information is bad, but it only might, for me, I think in my opinion, some other information out there works on a smaller scale. No one's really giving you information on a bigger scale. I think a lot of the mentors and people that we have are usually someone who works alone, someone who is doing something solo. So they're like, okay, well, this works. Like, yeah, that works because you have no overhead. It's only you. You're not paying taxes. You're not, employee taxes. You don't have payroll. So what happens when things are different? What happens when you want to build a team? Things are different, and how you interact with your customers, are different.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, let me just share this. And I don't think it even started. At first, I was making a lot of videos for groomers that we could share to pet parents. Because again,
Hmm.
I feel like that was another need. I'm like, okay, all you guys are bashing pet parents. How can we say this in a nicer way? You
Hmm.
know, and I did a lot of those videos at first, talk about certain topics for pet parents, said nicely, you know, and then
Yeah.
done professionally with, my camera guy. So there was a lot of that, and it's just at some point, I was like, when I got into some more of the controversial stuff, I was like, all right, well, I was like, I'm here to help, whether it might
That's
help
for
someone
sure.
or not.
Hmm.
I was no longer scared, to
Yeah.
just kind of speak my mind.
No, and it makes sense, and you have to.
Yeah.
You got to be unapologetically you because otherwise, that's how we get people to grow and learn, and give them the resources to be better, right?
Yeah. I remember there was in the beginning when I was still a little bit smaller, there was, um, I think a group of groomers saw something that we didn't like and we made a video together. And then when everybody got, that backlash, then everybody went and made an apology video. I'm like, I mean, I didn't because I felt like that's what we genuinely felt. I'm like, hey, we said it.
That's
Um,
what we made the video for.
yeah. And then when everybody got scared, got like, well, we don't want brands to not like us. I'm like, what brands? The brands that don't even pay you? Who cares? It's our opinions. We're free to say. And I always tell everybody, because people sometimes, give me some pushback. Oh, well, comment back on what people comment on your post. And, they get upset when maybe I give them a rebuttal, but it's okay for them to tell me something, but then they get upset when I say something. I do tell everybody, I was like, if you comment on my post, it's free game. If you do something, in my stuff, it's free game. We're gonna get a reply. But you will never see me go on someone else's post and tell them that they're wrong. I
Yeah.
see stuff that maybe I don't agree with, but I will never go comment on theirs and say, "Hey, you're wrong for this. This is what's right." So I feel like that's one of my other things. I was like, I'll I'll have those conversations with people on my post, but I'm never one who is going out and telling other people that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Whether I like their opinions or don't, that's their opinions, and it's not my job to go and correct anybody else.
No, yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day about that. Because we had got it, a friendly discussion
Yeah.
about, just how other groomers are so comfortable, putting down others in the pet industry. Like no matter you don't need any context or background or explanation or anything. And it's just like just straight to the negative,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what gets a lot of pet professionals scared to really like share their stories or ask for help, find a mentor,
Yeah.
get the tools and resources that they need. So now we have to get to a place where we have to really, put our foot down when it comes down to how we're interacting with certain people, first of all, and then like the message that we're putting out too, because a lot of people they're not, so for whatever reason as accepting of building a community and find it valuable. So
Yeah.
now it's like how do we change this mentality of everybody wanting to only entertain the drama rather than like, hey, let's actually work together and learn some things together.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that does have to do a lot with like the groomers who are part of that drama themselves. I feel like there's times where I might post something and people might feel it's controversial, but then I'll have my friends ask me a great question like, "All right, Eddie, that's an interesting take. This is what I believe, or this is my take." Versus the comments I get, "No, you're wrong. How could you do this? That's horrible." So I feel like it really it's really all in our hands. If you see something you don't like, maybe ask a question instead of just attacking. Like I love when I get smart comments and I'm like when they will have a discussion or open to see my view and then share their view.
Yeah.
Again, this is just about sharing views. I'm never saying, hey, you're wrong. And I always write it in the caption, I'm like, whatever my video might say, like in the caption, I always say, hey, whether you do this way or that way, it's still always up to you. I always try to write uh a caption that explains a little bit more. But I think if we together as a community, instead of just going straight to attack and maybe ask questions and understand, then I feel like we get a lot further. Because I've dealt with people who might see some videos and they just hate me for whatever reason, but we can have a good conversation. I'm like, all right, let's have this conversation through DMs. What's bugging you? Let me explain it. And they're like, oh, okay. I didn't think of it like that. I didn't see your point of view in that sense. Nobody's going to be able to share everything in a 30-second video. And I think that's where we also go wrong. You see 20, 30 seconds in a video, and then you want to judge that person, for everything that they do.
And I'm just like, no, you didn't take the time to do proper research.
Yeah.
You didn't take the proper time to do the proper research, and now you're basing everything off of this. And I'm like, it doesn't get the industry to go where it needs to go, and it
Yeah.
further just depicts this negativity that we can't work together, and things like that. But I do like being able to utilize our platforms to really, provide that inspiration and get people to understand like it's work that goes into this for
Yeah.
sure. But we have to work together in order to make that happen, right? Um, just growing a brand and putting everything together for your business, how important it is to you for you to really network and, get your work out there, talk to other businesses, grow with other businesses in the area and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, even then, I feel like that's a whole different, subject. And I feel like that's one of the realistically, this is where every groomer should be putting more emphasis on is how they grow their business. Whether you're doing community events, community outreach, let's say even a lot of the stuff that we've done for the shelters, all the work that we do like that shows the community who we are and what we're about really helps. I was running one of the ads that I have recently, and it was about how we're pricier, and I talked about how we charge a little bit more, but we're here for your pets. And I got a comment. They're like, "Well, we don't mind paying more because we see what you do, for pets in need." So it's really what kind of image do you want to present yourself, in your community? And I feel like that's always like the most important one. I mean, it's fun to make all the videos for us, but at the end of the day, those are not going to get us anywhere versus if you really take the time to build your brand, your actual business brand.
No, it makes sense. And with that, like any advice on people who are scared to post, scared to build that brand and they're waiting for perfect and things like that.
I think we've all seen examples of a customer comes in, they bring us a photo. I really love this haircut. You look at the photo and they're like, okay, this is what you got last time. And they're like, yes, I loved it. I think there's a customer for everybody. And I think this is also where groomers are split, where we have half of the groomers who are wanting to be in this competition world and they want to groom these poodles, they want to do everything perfect. And then the majority of us, dealing with just regular customers, who might not want to be on a 4-week schedule, who might just want their dog shaved, who want something simple. And I feel like that's where some of that also goes as where we have the groomers who expect everything to be perfect, fighting with the groomers who maybe understand that that's not what their customers want, or the customers that they have. And I just think for anybody who is scared is you don't be scared to post for not posting. There has to be a point where you have to realize to not worry about what the other groomers say and only worry about what your clients say. If your clients loved your haircuts, whether it's not perfect, that's not all that matters is the person who's paying you, not the groomers who are criticizing you.
And that is facts right there because I'm like, the people that comment and stuff. I mean, unless you're getting paid off of the views and shares and click rate and everything like that on like Facebook, these people that they're not paying your bills,
No. And
you
usually
know?
what whoever's making content and getting paid off content is usually entertainment content that goes
Hmm.
towards pet parents. And then you
Hmm.
just have those, those hurt groomers in those comments. But basically, even then, to be honest, anybody who's making content, getting paid off content, the views are coming from normal people, not from groomers.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how we entertain the masses and the general pet parent. And then we just get those butthurt groomers who are in there like, well, you did that wrong. I'm like, who cares?
Like it doesn't even matter. Like y'all are just making it a big deal out of nothing, and it shouldn't even have gotten to that point.
I mean, I had a conversation with another groomer who, again, we've always had great friendly conversations. And there was one where it's like, well, I would never do that to a schnauzer because that's not proper.
Hmm.
And I don't want my reputation to go bad. On my reputation against who? If a customer wants to pay me and they want me to leave the skirt however they want, then that's all their reputation I care about, my paying customer. We actually lost a customer. We have a story about one time we actually lost a customer because we
Hmm.
told her, I was like, hey, this is how you do the proper skirt. And she's like, I don't want it like that. I want it different. And my groomers, just not being set in their ways and having their standard of how we do things. They kept doing it right. And
Yeah.
the person left. They're like, we're not coming back because you're not doing how we want. And she went on and went to go learn how to groom her own dogs. And this is where our reputation only matters to our customers. The reputation we have with them is far more important than looking good to other groomers.
And that's what it is. And you have to understand again, like these people who are not paying your bills, like their opinions should just stick with that. I tell people, look, you have to go back and forth with them a little bit, just to
Yeah.
like engage and increase engagement, but
Yeah.
it don't let it get to you at any point
Yeah.
in time. Like you can't allow it to dictate your business decisions. You can't allow it to ruin your day, and you just gotta let people say what they have to say and just move on.
And one of my biggest things too is for anybody who feels like they get these comments and they get upset, just click on those people's profiles and see what they have going on with themselves. And then you
Usually
decide,
fake.
exactly. And then you decide, am I really going to get bothered by this person who either has nothing on their profile or they're doing nothing with themselves, and that's the reality of it. It's usually people who are not doing anything, who haven't, who say, hey, I've been grooming for 20 years, and then you go and see their grooms, and then you're like, okay, but you're telling me how to groom. So, and that's
That's
that's just the truth.
that's just what it is, man. That's just and it's crazy how common that is. Then you have people who are really willing to uplift and motivate and keep you accountable and just the positive side of this journey.
Yeah.
Whether you are a solopreneur or you're on a mobile or you do house call on a brick and mortar, um, you work out of corporate or out of your apartment complex or wherever, right? There's so many different aspects of it, but all the only thing at the end of the day we all have in common is just our will to try to run our businesses as successful as possible, you
Yeah.
know. No matter what people have to say, because they're always going to have opinions. It is what it is. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of how we respond to it.
And
So,
again, it's just always reminding ourselves that we're not doing it for them. We're doing it, for our customers. And that's why sometimes, like I said, I'll always preach that build your business brand first. Worry about that first. If you don't want to go into this space where, let's say, we are grooming influencers, I mean, this is definitely a tougher space to be in.
mhm.
Stick to the pet parents, build your business. That's where it really matters. And then if you got extra time, then you can come on over to this side. But this should never be your first priority. And it's always something where you always have to make sure that it's separate. Make
Mhm.
sure you have your business page where you're focused on your business, teaching your customers, and then you can have your personal brand page where you can come over here and argue with us for a little bit.
Makes sense. But first, you got to keep it separate.
Yeah,
Hey,
you have to keep it separate. Again, I'm not one of those people who want to give people advice. You know, I saw, you know, someone that I know. I was like, you've been carrying your business page properly. But then I saw a post that doesn't belong there. I'm like, oh, do I tell them or not tell them? Because it's like
uh,
you created a grooming influencing post, but that has nothing to do with your page.
yeah.
I feel like that confuses the customers. I think the customers that follow me probably see my page and like, what is this? What's going on here? You know?
But they're not the audience for that page anyway.
No, exactly.
Right. You came onto my page to see whether or not, well, one, see some cute puppies and cats results, or you want to book your appointment, or show off, like, hey, this is my groomer. This is the grooming
Yeah.
facility that would go to XYZ. Not the discussions that's basically geared towards pet professionals.
Not even, I've always said it before, it's like not even unboxings. Unboxing shouldn't be on your business page. Realistically, no one cares. No one knows about which wall or Andes clipper you got. They don't know what shears you got. They
As long as it
realistically,
comes out.
yeah, our customers don't care.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we're in an age where everybody wants to be a little bit of both, but they have to really learn to separate it.
Mhm. No, absolutely they do. How did just over time, how did we learn how to just when it comes down to all right, so just thinking about like the brick and mortar. So I have like my brick and mortar now, right? And our goal is to, of course, grow and scale and build up our team and things like that. How did y'all know when it was time to open up a second location and grow your team?
I think that I think there's going to be a point now, and maybe something, same thing new that I'm also realizing is that you can open up another location at any point, as long as your business number one works without you. So if you know that your storefront works without you and you can leave for a month, you can work remotely, then you're good to go. You're ready to start a new business.
Mhm.
But even then, now looking back, I'm like, okay, did I really maximize space one? It works without me. It runs perfectly. Like I don't need to be there. But is there still more maximizing that I could do there?
Mhm.
So you're always open to be ready to expand, you know, take on new customers. It's just making sure that it runs without you and that you're working on maximizing it before you leave or continue to maximize it and just not forget about it. Because again, this is where we can start a new project and then we forget about the other one.
We do. We do. Yeah. Or at least like just not give as much like attention or energy to it.
I call one of my
Then
shops the middle child, you know, the one
yeah.
that's a little forgotten. Because it happens. You just can't have
Yeah,
your energy in all places at all times.
for sure. And I mean, I guess that's where having a strong support system comes into play. When it comes down to having the right management systems in place.
Definitely. I think the systems is also an important part of your growth of exactly how you do everything. All of my shops run exactly the same. They have the same let's say employee structure, they have the same check-in structure, they have the same checkout structure. They have the same structure of how we deal with customers. Everything is exactly the same.
Okay.
There is no salon that does what they want. If I move a groomer from location A to B or C, they should go into the same environment. It should be the same process. They don't have to worry about, okay, what do I do in location B different? What do I do in location C different? It's a different building, it's a different layout, but the actual way that they work is exactly the same.
Gotcha. How far are your locations from each other?
They're each probably about 35 minutes or so from each other.
Yeah. Okay,
So
yeah, that's not bad.
we want to keep them far enough where we're not interfering with customers, but close enough
Hmm.
in case there's customers like, you know, on the fence.
Yeah.
But since we're still close enough, I feel like it helps build that community and that brand. Because
No,
now
absolutely.
we're in one city, we're in neighboring cities, and they kind of see us all together. So that helps too.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, I truly appreciate it. And then when it came down to adding on mobile, was it just like, okay, do we want to open up another location, or is it something that a lot of people were asking for? And then you just said, hey, let's go ahead and go down this route.
It's kind of one of those things where if you built a strong brand as a storefront, you naturally know that there's other mobile groomers out there as well. So now adding that service yourself, you're able to capture more of that market that you already have. So
Yeah.
it's like you're double branding yourself, you're already naming the community. Now you have extra services for the people you couldn't service before. Someone, might have heard about you before. They love the store, love what you do, but they need mobile, so they go somewhere else. So
Hmm.
if you really build that strong branding, I feel like it's easier to take over with the store and mobile and just get more money in your city. Even for mobile, we don't run mobile far out. We keep it in between the shops. So we're literally just we're trying to dominate the whole area. Uh-huh. Not going too
Hmm.
far. So we don't go more than like 30, 40 miles for any mobile appointment. It has to be close. And we just
Yeah,
continue to heavily, market and advertise and create that brand in the cities that we're in to just they really get as much of the business that we can.
gotcha. That makes sense. And I mean, everybody would know when you're ready. And like you said, you could do it anytime. It's just a matter of making sure that you have the proper planning and strategy that comes along with it.
Yeah. Also, there's no right time to do it, but it's definitely a wrong time to do it. And the wrong time to do it is when you don't have your first one together. You
Yeah,
you, you can't go out and do something different and not be 100% sure about your first location.
that makes sense. And I agree because it's like we jump in with 2 feet, holding our breath, eyes closed, and just say, "Look, wherever it takes us is wherever it takes us,"
Yeah.
and I'll learn and grow along the way. And I mean, I feel like that's us. But when it comes down to like the team and management and stuff like that, that's when more of the strategies and everything comes into play, the organization. Us,
Yeah.
we're just like lines everywhere, but they still connect and they make sense once you hammer out all the details.
Exactly. I want to say, even realistically, even from personal experience, maybe my third location, it was something that just kind of fell into my hands. I was like, all right, here's a building that is ready to go. All I have to do is paint it and redo it how I want it. The
Mhm.
plumbing's there, electrical's there. It was an existing grooming salon. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, let me just go ahead and do it, you know?
Mhm.
So now I'm having a little bit of the growing pains, and I'm like, okay, did I need another shop or not? But
Mhm.
now I have it, so now I have to make it work.
You have to make it work.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's like I tell myself that too. So I'm like, if it's something that either makes you uncomfortable or it's new or it's innovative or it just goes against the status of being complacent and being comfortable. It's like something else. It's like, all right, once you're in it, you have to commit.
Yeah.
You got to commit to it. You got to commit to it. No, absolutely. Well, any lasting advice for those that may be watching or listening, for those that may be thinking about getting into the pet industry or they're already in the pet industry and they're just trying to figure life out like we are.
Yeah. Well, I think we all are. And like even what you said in the beginning too, I was like, I think all these experiences show everybody that we're all dealing with the same exact problems. Your problems are similar to my problems, which are similar to the next grooming salon down the street. We're all kind of faced with the similar problems. And I mean, the only way that we can ever grow is that if we share those experiences of how we overcame them, and then someone can be like,
Yeah,
all right, well, I like how he did it. Let me do it that way.
absolutely.
I think let's say if anybody was getting into it, I feel like there is definitely a great opportunity here. It's just not as easy as it seems. And you have to be ready, you have to make that commitment to do this for the long run and not just want to quit in a year, 2 years. 'Cause I do see a lot of people, they come into it and then a year later, well, this wasn't for me, but how do you know if you've had enough time in it to really get past that ugly phase?
Hmm.
Um, and for anybody who's a rumor, I mean, I think it's just really just keep doing you, you know.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what anybody says. Don't worry about what I say. Even if I do something different that doesn't, change, your experience, is just doing what works for you. And if what doesn't work for you, then maybe start taking some advice from someone who is doing something that's working for them.
1000%. I say definitely find a mentor and find somebody to help guide you in your journey, 100%. Well, thank you, Eddie. I truly appreciate it. Can you let everybody know, well, one, where they can find you, and if there's anything that you have going on that you would like to share with everybody as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, everybody can find me. I'm mainly on Instagram. I have a few messages on Facebook, but I just stick to one. Instagram at the CEO of Grooms. If you guys have any questions about mobile grooming, anything like that, getting a van, I do work with Van Speed Pro, and I really believe that they're building these great vans that just make grooming a lot more enjoyable. Um, Insurance wise, I'm part of the pet business insurance team. They'll help you get right with your insurance because I was making a mistake on that too. I didn't even know I didn't have the wrong coverage. I was overpaying and they just really, fixed that for me. And
Yeah.
shampoo wise, Groom. Those are the companies that I do work with. And again, even though I said earlier, there is some great companies out there that will take care of their team. Just finding those great companies and then just also making yourself valuable to them. We can't expect anything for free if we can't offer anything of value to these companies as well.
Writing that down as well. No, we talked about van speed, but we haven't got as far as like insurance and stuff like that. I think that that's a very important topic for pet professionals as well. So we'll talk more about that as well. But otherwise, thank you again, my friend. Let me see. So I know we got CEO Grooms. What about Paws at Main? It's just at Paws at Main, correct?
Yeah, so Possum is Possum main, and even then, why I won't necessarily promote it because there's nothing really on there for you guys. You guys can see it, you guys can, but you know what? Actually, that's a lie. I think that you should go see it and see what we're doing different.
Yeah.
See the difference between my CEO Grooms page versus a Pause main page. Notice that all my videos that I make are not on there because they're not for my customers. And I feel like just like everybody else, I mean, it's hard to just post dog pictures, all day, every day. So we have to get creative. If you have a team, I think like I'll say one other secret would be let your whole team create content. Let your business have a variety of everybody who works for you. Don't make it just about you. So
No, at 100%. I try to get it. Trust me, and that's another thing is getting everybody in front of the camera. I try and I'm
yeah.
like, look, y'all make a video. Y'all make a video. Everybody's
Yeah.
tired of seeing me. So definitely get others into your camera. So and yourself. So then that way you grow your business. Like people want
Yeah.
to see who they are trusting with their pets. So don't
Yeah.
be afraid to get in front of the camera more. All right. Till next time, my
Well,
friend.
thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. All right.